close, Max?
I don't know. I told him to go in one.
Let's get ready to rumble. This is in the heavyweight division, scheduled for 6 rounds, and something's gotta give. They're both undefeated.
Second round here. Alderson down in this round. They survive as he goes down again.
Boxing in movies is a sadistic type of entertainment, not unlike the sport itself. We find it intriguing because, like gangster films, it shows men who walk the tightrope of the law. Not like you or I, their vice is killing, changing rage into beating another man with the exact opposite goal of you or I. In the ring, law seems stripped of its power, and you are actively encouraged to indulge those angry, powerful vices within yourself and not hold back. Even murder is ignored, not encouraged, but not capitally punished. In the ring, you are granted your God-given right to beat the living shit out of each other. The first time boxing was filmed, it was in Thomas Edison film, one of the first experiments with the medium's inventors. The 1891 25-second length picture was a repeated line-up between boxers Mike Leonard and Jack Cushing, this even preceding Edison's later film of Two Cats Boxing. The other great piece of boxing cinema. This not really counting as film in terms of it as art. The first deliberate use of boxing in a narrative film was 1931's The Champ. A silent film, the film was the creator of the narrative tropes that other films on the subject would follow. The story arcs within boxing films are often similar to that of the story arcs within many films on fame. They tell the story of an artist struggles to follow their love, what they want to do, and how that clashes with the real world. Though there had been movies primarily made about boxers, the early Hitchcock film 1927's The Ring, a film on the subject, it was The Champ that brought the final idea of boxing and film together, with all the identifiers of what we expect to see today. The two arts of film and boxing, always interwoven, the two coming up together as forms of entertainment in the early 20th century. Obviously existing prior to the turn century, the first film recorded was coming from 1888. That was it. And while watching people hit each other has been viewed as wildly entertaining since the dawn of man, however, boxing as a sport, the rules were widely frowned upon and outlawed in much of the world, particularly the United States. So, just as the states were becoming more lenient on the sport, cinema was also just getting on its feet, and it did what it always would do: it took the medium to exploit and just ran with it. Early boxing film Gentleman Jim, that being set in the 1800s, in fact portrayed the very time period as just mentioned, and the growing of boxing. It was advertised as the two greatest novelties of the present century. The film itself, portraying, as mentioned, the development of boxing, which mirrored how it would become eventually to join cinema. Gentleman Jim, as its title suggests, following the development of a new type of boxer, a civilized man who was more than just a boxer, just the hulking brute, the strong man the sports had attracted in the past. These were fine gentlemen who in the early years populated the sport, giving boxing the name of the gentleman's sport.
Weaving around, it looks like a test of speed against power, and Willard has no chance to get...
Something further accentuated by how the movie directed by Raoul Walsh developed the way boxing fights were filmed, enlisting more complexities such as the use of POV shots when fighting. The gentleman of the movie in question, portrayed by the always smiling Errol Flynn, the Hollywood golden boy and alleged Nazi spy, had additionally welcomed in what many would have believed to be the blueprint for what a man should look like physically within his boxing film. Standards of the broad-shouldered, sturdy, compact muscle man still maintained to this day. The lean yet strong physique possessed by these actors became the gold standard for what men of the day and today should look like. This further heightened by 26th President, all-round badass Teddy Roosevelt, who was a famous boxer and went blind in his left eye due to it whilst in office. In the 40s, boxing movies exploded in interest in the public. Like noir films, studios used them to get around strict censorship at the time. It was not like they were going to be able to show blood splurting, but they were going to be able to show a more vicious fight than they would be able to usually. And the illegal nature of the sport allowed early auteurs to express more grey-spacing characters. Their movies in a time when those being allowed on the screen were black and white in terms of their own sense of morality was shown. People seemed to know from the beginning the appeal of boxing movies, and the danger in them drew a crowd, like noirs or later gangster genre, the idea of how these people were on the outskirts of society, intriguing the masses. Boxers were like cowboys or rogue detectives, they were free American mavericks. The sport, not like a team sport, there would only be one winner, one trophy to stand above all. It was an extreme view of individuality, to be totally free by taking out everyone else. The best idea of this shown in 1956 film Someone Up There Likes Me. Directed by later West Side Story director Robert Wise, the movie lent a similar sense of childhood naivete. The New York streets similarly winding and exciting, the movie tells the story of a social rebel who finds it impossible to follow orders and act silently. He is a larger-than-life person with a deep anger that stops him from standing in, and he's able to use that to straddle into his boxing career. Though he's always going to be a good guy, sluggish and crude at times.
Have I ever told you how much I love you?
You've been telling for 2 hours, you creep.
But good. Notably shown to have a good relationship with his family, his anger that the film would like you to believe is uncontrollable is not something that ever comes out to hurt those around him that he loves.
Yes, got it fast, you know. And he's...
It is the ultimate ideal of a boxer, strong and possessing a rage to unleash, with an experience of how much strength can hurt from his early childhood. That is why he never goes after those smaller than him, domestic abuse never being something to worry about. We'll see from him, but then again, how could we? He's Paul Newman. That said, that is the lightest the genre ever gets, with the rest of it looking a lot more cynically on the sport. 1940's The Setup was the first to include a primary plot that openly acknowledged how people would take falls in the sport of boxing. The sport always indulging in an underground racket, it was not about who was fighting but the type of dark characters that boxing would attract, the lowlifes who would find money in the betting of popular sports, something made possible with one of the biggest draws, its singularity. The another film possessing these ideals was 1956's the movie The Harder They Fall. Coming out the same year as Someone Up There Likes Me, it portrays a wildly different perspective on the business. Not told from the perspective of a boxer, rather from a boxer's publicist, played by noir icon Humphrey Bogart. The movie shows its star boxer as a mumbling brute, not a great hero, and follows how a team of managers and a publicist can make a great mythology, and for a stage persona they create for the great boxer Toro. As the social consciousness of the nation in the United States moved on to these stories of heroes appeared less and less, ending with movies, even like movies The Harder They Fall, where despite the fact that boxing is portrayed as a negative light, it is seen as profitable, and there is still some success found in it.
Waste. Before you can get rolling, your life makes a beeline for the drain.
Movies jumping forward, like in 1972's Fat City, shows the plight of a boxer in a much more small and wholly more depressing sense. It shows the other boxers, the ones without unharnessable rage, the one who isn't 6'5", the one who loses. For them, boxing isn't the glamour, they'll leave no legacy, they just need cheap buck for them. They use violence to feed their family. They sacrifice their body, not for love of the game, but rather because they have to. It's an amusement. It's necessity. This would link to the idea presented in Joel Carol Oates' 1992 essay The Cruelest Sport, wherein she notes that boxers were poorly paid, non-unionized workers with no benefits in a monopolistic business without altruistic control. This period showing a lot of anti-boxing sentiment, of boxing and sport with negative effects becoming more prevalent in the aging stars of the sport's golden age. The movie Requiem for a Heavyweight, a film written by the Twilight Zone's Rod Sterling, a man who at the Second World War was an army boxer, features an interview segment with punchy old ex-fighter left homeless. The appearance of men spat out after their prime and too stubborn to die are left lost and unwanted. The most famous films to negatively portray the sport of boxing being Scorsese's Raging Bull, a painful neo-noir exploring the grisly lens of the reality of boxing in the 40s, something sheened over by films of the day. At first, the description of its protagonist, real-life Jake LaMotta, seems like a character dissimilar to our real-life's boxer Rocky Gazzariano, who Paul Newman played in Someone Up There Likes Me. Both New York boys who hang out with a group of childhood friends as close as their brothers. But in execution, the two seem polar opposites. The golden boy's innocence of Rocky completely opposes LaMotta's own nature. Upon rewatch, Rocky's relationship with his wife feels more prevalent after seeing the unbridled abuse that LaMotta puts his wife and brother through. Both men, supposedly good boxers because of their deep rage, are shaped by how they have channeled that rage.
Because you got something inside of you that a lot of fighters don't have. Never will have. No matter how much I teach them. Hate. I don't know why it's there. I only know that if anybody hits you, you better start ducking fast. Because that hate poison in the right hand of yours makes it like a charge of dynamite.
With Raging Bull comes the additional question of where his rage commands from, hinted to be an inability to sexually participate. LaMotta marrying a woman who he meets as a minor, looking for a purely sexual character, but then constantly paranoid that she's cheating on him. Additionally, the thought constantly in the back of his head that he is most exhilarated in the embrace of a man. That embrace being violent, but that said, so is the relationship LaMotta shares with his wife. When fighting, both men are sweaty, tired, physical specimens, constantly examining and judging themselves and each other physically.
3 more left to the midsection. A hook on the jaw. 2 more left to the head. A right and a left to the jaw by LaMotta, and Reeves goes down for the 3rd time. And the referee is...
and line early on that Jake tells his brother when asking him to hit him. In some strange act of emasculating his brother, LaMotta makes his brother repeatedly hit him again and again, not reacting, and then saying his brother punches like, quote, he takes it up the ass.
Hard.
In exercise, he takes again in the ring. He stands up unreactive upon his opponent, even as the other boxer destroys his face, leaving it dented, spewing blood and sweat. But so is LaMotta trying to prove a point. That he's standing, still letting the punches rain down, thinking to react is a sign of weakness, even when he desperately needs to get medical attention.
Welcome to the fight of the week. I'm Don Dunphy, your ringside commentator. The scene is Madison Square Garden, and the Welterweight Championship of the World is at stake tonight as Benny Kid Paret defends against
Is also linking to the narrative told in the 2005 documentary Rings of Fire, the Emil Griffith story, that looks at the Benny Paret vs Emil Griffith third match. The third meeting between Benny Kid Paret and Emil Griffith, the welterweight boxing championship held at Madison Square Garden in New York City on Saturday, March 24th, 1962. Both in the Caribbean, Griffith was at the time struggling with a great cultural change as well as the realization of his own bisexuality, something not openly welcomed at the time. Before the match, Paret called Griffith a homophobic slur in attempts to rile up his opponent. However, this resulted in Griffith picking clothes at the time, the insult hitting a lot harder than Paret had intended, and in the 12th round, Griffith knocked out Paret, causing damage that resulted in Paret's death later that night in the hospital. That said, for many boxers this is still a great sport. Michael Mann's Ali tells the story of the most famous boxer, if not most famous athlete, Muhammad Ali, and his mythic journey. Portraying him as a legendary man, born to box unstoppable, Ali is the poster boy for the sport, and the goal strived towards by boxers. His legendary is cementing him as much as a cultural icon as George Washington or Neil Armstrong. The most well-known movie, however, is of course Rocky, the brainchild of Stallone, a movie with his sole goal and told with perhaps the best ideal within boxing. If you have to succeed, you don't have to be the strongest or the smartest or the tallest, you just have to keep pushing. Rocky shows a physique not of Robin Hood, not of some Hollywood pretty boy, but of the workers of steel mills and car manufacturers. He mumbles like Rambo and keeps his head down. He just manages to succeed through his sole willingness to work the hardest. Since the inception, and is questioned and judged the entire way, framing through every different viewpoint, torn between it as a metaphor for systemic issues, or a place to entertain our lizard brains. Whether it encourages violence or merely contains it in a place to channel. But, as former Mike Tyson trainer said, people are full of shit. Let's just keep dark. Hi, this is Luke. If you liked that video, please like and subscribe, and click the bell icon for notifications about new videos.